All right, thanks everybody. At this time, I'd like to introduce Aaliyah Taylor to come up and say some words.
Good evening, everyone. To deliver compassionate, patient-centered, and team-based healthcare that upholds excellence in quality and service, ensuring access for all regardless of barriers or circumstances. That is the official mission statement for Amity Medical Group. I have been a patient for 8 of the 10 years Amity Medical Group has been adhering to this statement. Before the Amity Medical Group we all know of today, there once was a Ballantyne Family Medicine. The year was 2017. I was a freshman in college, and it only took one singular therapy session at the local youth LGBTQ center for me to be referred to Dr. J. Wesley Thompson at Ballantyne Family Medicine to officially start my medical transition. I stand before you today to proudly announce that since then, I have recently fully completed my personal medical transition into a beautiful and poised transgender woman by the help and encouragement of Amity Medical Group. Everybody's transition is completely different, and nothing happens overnight. While minding my 9th grade business, reading over the bell ringer, preparing for class to start, I overhear a slight commotion. I mind my business and not worry about it to keep myself out of any foolishness. Sooner or later, the source of the ruckus meets me eye to eye and proceeds to show me a picture of a beautiful woman on the school-issued iPads we received that year. "Do you think this is a boy or a girl?" I'm asked. I quickly answer girl to cut this ridiculous interaction to a minimum. "No, it's a man," the student said. At that very second, my mind began to go places it's never been before, and the gears start to move. Eventually, before the class ended, I asked more questions, and I was very surprised and shocked at the answers I received. At that very day, I knew exactly who I wanted to be, and I started to plan a life for my future. Since then, I've been researching and working around my conservative Christian parents in order to be adjacent to that same transgender woman I was introduced to. From the very beginning, I knew the life I wanted to live was going to be far from peaches and cream. At one point, I even ignored the feelings and stopped the research, pretending to be happy and masking it to please my environment. I slowly but surely realized I was doing more harm than good, leading me to be overly dependent on substances, people-pleasing, and doing any and everything to make sure I wasn't alone with my own thoughts. By the time my high school graduation came along, my graduating class had unfortunately lost 4 students, 3 by car accidents and 1 to a personal illness. Experiencing that type of trauma at a very early age made me realize something. Tomorrow is never promised, and the only person you should be trying to please is yourself. I was wearing an ugly mask for entirely way too long, and it was time for me to put my foot down and put on the beautiful pink princess crown I laid to the side. While applying for colleges, I knew my small hometown wasn't going to accept me with open arms, nor have the resources I was needing, so the closest option I had was Charlotte. Timing is truly everything. Right before I started college, I did more of a deep dive into all things trans. At that time, the life expectancy for a Black trans woman was 35, which has now been updated as of 2024 to 28. The scary part about that data is it's only coming from reported deaths. I knew before parting ways with my parents and starting a life of my own that not only could I experience discrimination for my skin color, but also my gender. Even when it came to educating myself with these circumstances and statistics, I still continue to live in my truth. This shows you how bad I wanted it. Nobody wants to make themselves a walking target in a world full of ignorant and emotionally unstable shooters. Instead of keeping these harsh realities in the front of my head, I had to push it to the side and continue to live my everyday life. This can be a lot for one person to handle, and honestly, it was driving me to a breaking point. Thankfully, my primary care team was more than happy to refer me to start counseling, conveniently provided under the same umbrella as Amity Medical Group. Since starting my sessions, I've achieved so much physically, mentally, and emotionally. From my very first visit down to the simple pharmacy pickup, all the staff has treated me with the utmost respect. Amity is truly a diamond in the rough. Going above and beyond, not only to assist me with my medical transition, but to do so with integrity and grace. It is truly a full circle moment to have the opportunity to be a guest speaker tonight. I honestly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the incredible staff at Amity Medical Group. And to all of you, I say thank you. Thank you for looking past my personal obstacles and continuing to treat me like another patient. Thank you for having enough diversity hires to make me feel safe and heard during my visits. Thank you for taking the time and proper protocols and education on all things LGBTQ. Thank you for asking the right questions when needed and providing the correct answers when asked. Thank you for standing up for what's right and not giving up on a community that leans heavily onto you. Congratulations on making such a major positive impact onto the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. It has been a blessing to personally see the growth firsthand, and I pray for another fabulous 10 years. In conclusion, I would like to leave everyone under the sound of my voice with a few items to possibly add to your to-do list. There has been a saying going around of protect the dolls. I would like to add to that saying. The meaning stems from the backlash and overall negativity the current presidential climate has clouded the trans community with. So let's not only protect the dolls, but actually listen to the dolls. Be gentle to the dolls and give grace. We go through enough on a daily basis. Give back to the community when you can by donating your time and energy, and sometimes just a friendly smile. Help out when you can. At the end of the day, we are simply just human. You don't have to love me, but you will respect me. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Scott Weitzel to come up and say a couple words.
I'm a musician. I played at the last gala here about a month ago, and so I had prepared all this music and as well as my speech. So I found out recently that we're not doing music this time, and I went, okay. So then I had my speech all typed up. It was the same one that I did for the founders, the CEOs, the people who raise funds, the decision makers. And I sat out in the parking lot like, yeah, they all want to hear what my story and all my medical symptoms and all that. They deal with that all the time. Who cares about that crap? I mean, it's nice that you care, but you probably don't want to hear the whole long story of my survival. I will tell you that I first tested positive in 1992, but I don't know what happened. It went away or something, because all my blood tests after that were negative. I guess that's a false positive or something, or it just went into hiding. I don't know what happened. However, in 2008, I was with my partner of 3 years at the time, and it hit. And I went 1 week. I was singing karaoke up at the Woodshed up on north side of town, and I left with ringing in my ears that I couldn't quite figure out. A week later, I'm lying in the hospital bed with about 2 hours left of life. I had meningitis, and it was a really bad version of it. They somehow saved my life, although they didn't expect me to live. They said a couple more hours and I would have been brain dead. Well, that'll wake you up. My life came to a complete stop, and all of my music, my 3 music jobs that I had, all came to a close. And I started climbing back out. I said, well, I'm just going to not die because I don't want to. Thank you very much. So I did what I had to do. The doctors did what they had to do. And I had to go through, well, let's see, meningitis again, kidney failure, pancreatic failure, lung failure, heart failure, cancer number 1, cancer number 2, cancer number 3. I think that's about it. 6 near-death experiences later, 11 years, and I climbed back out. And my immune system was fine, and I could go do things. But when that happened, the month that happened was January 2020, COVID. back in your bubble you go. Shit. I think that was my response. But that was just, shit. What else can you say? And I think I deserve to say it. And a few other things. A few other choice words. But thanks to Amity and my physician Jason giving me every vaccination known to man, every time I went in, he was jabbing me with something. You have a headache here, do you have a diarrhea, ingrown toenail? Bam, bam, bam. And I thought, if I put my finger here, it's gonna start squirting out the other end like Baymax and the Scotch tape. But anyway, I managed to not get COVID. And that's all down to Amity. You all did that. When I first got out of Atrium, the first time, after about a couple months in there, I went to a different clinic. And I had a bit of shell shock, I have to admit, going in there and learning I had to do Medicaid and Social Security, and I had to get disability and all these things that I wasn't familiar with. And they had the education sessions. So I go in and there's a big screen with two giant arrows on it. One is going up and one is going down. And they said, now what we want, and they point to one of the arrows, we want your virus to go down, and they point to the giant green arrow pointing down. And we want your CD4 to go up, and so they point to the arrow going up, going, really, this is fascinating. This is a fascinating learning experience. So after a few eye rolls, I went back to the doctor, who will remain nameless. Great doctor, but I had some questions about meningitis. That's what I had. You know how this works. So the answer I got began with, well, the brain is surrounded by a bony structure called the skull. And I wanted to do that, but I wanted also to have respect. And I thought, why am I here? Does everybody think we're all just stupid? And maybe people that are severely shell-shocked needed that, but I was kind of annoyed that it was assumed that because I had AIDS, that I didn't have a functioning mind, and I didn't leave because I didn't know I had an option until I ran into Wes Thompson, who I had known through various circles. He said, "Why don't you try this place? I'm starting this up." This was Valentine days. I'm starting this up, and it wasn't in the hospital system, and I was like, I don't know. But after a while, I eventually thought, I trust Wes. So I took a gamble. And I'm so glad I did, because I was treated like royalty. It felt like royalty when you go from a clinic, you're just a number, and you go to a place where even everybody who you interact with is kind and friendly and seems glad that you're there. You're not just a patient. You're not just another sad sack sick person to deal with. You're like a real person, almost like a friend. From everybody from the security guard to the front desk to the people handing out medications to the phlebotomists. I almost said pharmacists. Phlebotomists.
Don't forget your vampire.
That's right. That's right. I get hugs from people who sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. I don't remember names, and I go, I know you, and they come give me a hug. I feel like a celebrity when I walk in there. And I cannot tell you what that does for somebody who fits the biggest stereotype for HIV/AIDS that there ever existed. And somebody who should have been a statistic, who feels like they're being judged and looked down upon every time they walk out the door. I feel like people can see that I'm sick. I always look like I'm on chemo. Even this is just how I look. So it's wonderful to go and not be judged and to be welcomed. And even if my numbers aren't right, my blood work's or this organ isn't quite doing what it's supposed to be doing, I walk out of there so happy, like I have this whole team of people behind me who is going to back me up, who's going to catch me if I fall. And every time I walk out of there, I feel like I can just take on the world. And it's you people, of the two speeches I've given, you are the people I wanted to talk to. You're the ones who are doing the work. You're doing the leg work, the grunt work, the hard work. You're dealing with us face to face, sad and grumpy and angry and tired and hungry and scared and judged and evaluated and pushed down, and you put us up here. We're the priority. And I cannot thank you enough for giving me my quality of life back. Thank you.
All right, and finally, I'd like to welcome Dennis Combs to come up and say a couple words.
Really, I should just say that was great. Ditto and mic drop. I don't know why they made me third, okay? But I'll say a few words so the party doesn't start too early. So like 22 years ago, Dr. Richard Wynn became my personal physician, and it was an interesting time in my life. I was a confused, straight, Republican, married father of one. I'm no longer married. I'm no longer straight. I'm no longer Republican. I am still a father, and I'm very proud of that. But Dr. Wynn was there for me when I had so many questions about discovering who I was as a person and things I'd been hiding in my life from myself. And he answered all the questions, believe it or not, and there were some doozies, I'll tell you. But he was always there and gave excellent care. And after about seeing him for, I guess it was probably about 7 years, I left Charlotte and I moved to New Jersey and then Dallas and then to Phoenix. And I had married my second spouse, who I'm divorced from. I'm not doing real well at this. But anyway, what can I say? I'm single, looking for number 3. So when I got back to Charlotte, I was like, yeah, well, I gotta get my doctor. So I called Dr. Richard Wynn's office, and I said, yeah, I need to make an appointment with Dr. Wynn. Okay, when were you looking for? Sometime in the next month would be good. Nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. And I was like, well, when's he available? 6 months? I had been waitlisted by Dr. Wynn. I was like, but I'm a former patient. I'm coming back. I'm sure he knows me. He'll want me back. I'm one of those good patients. He did not. So I was referred to the wonderful Dr. Hannah Kim, who I'm so grateful is my doctor now. And she has changed my life in the last year. While in Phoenix, my physician was at the Mayo Clinic, and I'm not going to say bad things about the Mayo Clinic. They have wonderful, wonderful things. But what they cannot compete with is the patient care that is provided by Amity Medical Group. And I'm being serious. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. So I had been a patient at the Mayo Clinic in my doctor's office for 5 years there, and when I got to Charlotte, I was so unhealthy. And since I have been seeing Dr. Kim, I have lost 89 pounds. I have lowered my blood pressure, my BMI. She has helped me get off medications that I probably shouldn't have been on to begin with, and has drastically changed my life, all doing it with care, kindness, and compassion. And every time I go to the office, everyone is so pleasant and kind, and I still have stupid questions, and they still answer them. So I really appreciate that as well. And I just want to say, I feel like I've always been able to tell Dr. Wynn anything, and I feel the same thing about Dr. Kim. And, I have people I know who are friends of mine, and they'll say, well, I can't tell my doctor that. And I'm like, well, if you can't tell your doctor, who are you going to tell? I mean, that's the one person you need to be telling. So I feel safe in this environment at Amity Medical Group, and I'm sure the care is the same at every office. I happen to go to the Monroe office. But I really want to thank you all for all the care that you give all of us and take care of us. I mean, the stories before mine were much more touching. I just get good quality care from good people who care about me, and that's what's important to me. So on behalf of all of your patients, I'd like you just to indulge me 1 minute. I know you're tired of sitting, so everybody stand up. Stand up. I mean, my butt was hurting in that chair. They're a little hard. All right, everybody stand up. And this is from all of your patients to you. I now want you, now that you're standing, to give yourself an ovation and thank you for all the care that you provide all of the patients in the Charlotte area. Thank you.